years. Brink of elimination. All 32 teams are still tiers eligible, but these 4 teams are on the brink. And honestly, tiers and Wednesdays at 4 o'clock will be better once we've eliminated a few of these scallywags. On to the next one. Oh, isn't that cute? You gotta win. Hey, that's just adorable. Some people, even because you got the win, think like that fact that we thought you might be the worst team in football coming into the year, that's now gone. Like the Patriots, or that the Raiders have a competent offense, or that the Browns aren't going to regress back to who they've been when Deshaun plays. And Washington, by the way, I put you in a different category. You're starting a rookie quarterback right now, so you're supposed to not really be competitive. And also you beat the Giants, which is the one team Daniel Jones had success against, but that's where he fell. Absolutely maddening.
Okay, let's be very clear here. We're gonna go through this. Nick Wright just said that the Cleveland Browns are not a good team. He said this now multiple times. There was so much confusion that they said he only has them at the bottom because they need a quarterback or some weird, bizarre thing, because that's what the original title said about, like, you know, going to be getting a new quarterback. And it was like, no, Nick Wright has consistently said that he thinks that the Cleveland Browns are a bad team, a bottom barrel team, okay, bottom 5 team or so. And now he's literally making fun of you. He goes, oh, that's cute. He's making fun of the Cleveland Browns right now and saying, like, right, like, you're not going to regress back to who you've been with Deshaun Watson. Remember that, okay? Because you guys were all yelling at me before. Not to mention, he also has the Tennessee Titans at the way bottom. Clearly not a good team, on the brink of elimination. He obviously has no respect for the Tennessee Titans at all. Remember that for as we go up in the tiers. Just remember that.
And this for different reasons. For the Colts, man, Gus Bradley, I love you, man. But everyone in the world knew that the Packers were just going to run the ball, not trust Malik Willis to pass, and yet you let him just run the ball all over you. Now you've lost DeForest Buckner. That's a concern. For the Jags, everything about him's maddening right now, including them costing me credibility and actual cash money week after. When's the last time they won, Wilds?
It was the weekend after
the Thanksgiving. It's not good for your boy. The Rams and Dolphins, it's not your fault. Just injuries for the Rams to everyone, to the Dolphins to your quarterback, and that's maddening for your fans because you were supposed to, be legitimate contenders this season. East Coast bias. These teams are not contending for anything. Yet every talk show in America has to evidently pretend they are. Like, are we talking about the Eagles today? Are we talking about the Jets today? Why? Somebody tell me what is the thing either of these teams is great at? Are they well coached? No. Do we fully trust either quarterback? No. Oddly, do we trust either defense right now? No. Do they both have a great wide receiver and another couple cool weapons? Yeah. So does 2/3 of the league.
Okay, first off, what do they have? A top wide receiver. One of the best wide receivers in the game right now. What else do they have? I don't know. Arguably the best versatility player, and I don't even know what to call him these days, honestly. A running back wide receiver, hybrid. I mean, like, Saquon Barkley does everything. Top 5 in scrimmage yards from scrimmage. Why can't I think of how to say that correctly right now? With Saquon Barkley, right, who's been elite, has been just a top running back in general, if we just even want to draw that distinction between that. Yeah, he does that as well. Jalen Hurts, I understand if you don't want to put him and say he's a top 5, top whatever quarterback. He's still a top quarterback. However we want to categorize it, he's not a bottom tier quarterback. That's obvious. If you're still debating that, well then, man, oh man, I really do not know what to tell you right now. Are you saying, are they great at anything? The Eagles have an elite roster. If you want to bash the coaching, I understand. If you want to call out the defense, I understand. But to say that they don't do anything great is absurd. That really is absurd. And how you're not going to put any respect on Aaron Rodgers. That's comically absurd. It's really comically absurd. I understand that the season hasn't started off exactly how New York Jets wanted it to happen. But to act like the Jets are just now garbage, nothing, or that they only talk about them because it's an East Coast bias, that is also comically absurd. Because then why aren't they talking about the Giants? Why aren't they talking about the Commanders? Like what? Like, seriously, like what? 0 cents. 0 cents.
But they're the Eagles and the Jets, so we're going to keep pretending. That's fine. Thank God for the committee.
Right.
We're not going to be fooled by these teams, nor will we be bullied by anyone, particularly people with oddly undersized tight shirts. Like, oh, if you're not talking about them, what are you doing today? Guys, I'm happy that these teams are 2-0, and I really like Geno and Mike McDonald. I think what Mike Tomlin does year after year is remarkable. Kevin O'Connell's one of the best coaches in the league, and Alvin Kamara's resurgence is one of the best stories in the league. None of these teams are contending for anything. And if not for the committee, if we were all just standing zealots, we'd have to be like, well, what do you want them to do? What do you want them to do? Be real contenders is what you want to do to move up the rankings. Running out of time. Yeah, that's right. That's 2 0-2 teams above 4 2-0 teams. Doesn't matter. I still believe in these teams, but they are both running out of time. As Wild's been talking about, 0-3 is a true death knell historically. And the sneaky problem for these two teams is they're both 0-2. They're in the same division. They're going to beat each other up along with the rest of the division. I have more faith in the Bengals, even if I think the Ravens oddly might have more talent, just because the Bengals have fourth place schedule, Ravens have first place schedule, but still, they're running out of time. You have our attention. If the NFC is truly wide open, one of these teams could find itself playing the final weekend of the
Guys, seriously. We're going to have the Chicago Bears all the way up there. The team that has essentially done nothing. Their defense has been pretty good. Outside of that, their offense has been awful. Absolutely awful. And I was high on the Chicago Bears. And I'm not saying that they can't right this ship. I am not saying that. I have not abandoned the Caleb Williams. And go check my record. If you're a Chicago Bears fan watching this, I am not a Chicago Bears hater. I've been praising Caleb and talking him up and even defending him through everything and defending the Bears as a whole as well. So this is not, meant to just bash on the Bears. But they are not playing good right now. That can't be denied, okay? And the one team that they beat was the Tennessee Titans. The team that Nick has at the way bottom. The team that Nick thinks is awful. And again, you have the Raiders. The Raiders beat Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, right? Like, again, it's really kind of absurd, okay? And he has the Falcons up there, and the Eagles all the way down there. Please make this make sense, please, because the Eagles because now the Packers are going to be up there. Checks notes. The Eagles beat the Packers, okay, and the Eagles had the Falcons beat. Okay, they had them beat. They were a fingertip away from winning that game, okay? That's how close it was. And yet somehow the Eagles are at the way bottom. The Falcons are at the way top, which again, I think the Falcons are a great team. And again, Nick even has the Falcons winning the division, okay? And yet he somehow has the Cowboys above all these teams, especially above the Eagles, which makes, again, no sense because they beat, checks notes, the Cleveland Browns. Remember the Cleveland Browns? The team that Nick says is awful, who he's literally making fun of them in this exact segment. And they lost to a team which, checks notes, apparently they're fool's gold. They're not really that good. And yet somehow they still beat them. They demolished them. The Saints absolutely embarrassed them at home. And we're going to say that the Cowboys are a top team, a top 6, top 5 team. Do you know the insanity of that? The insanity. And this is based on week to week. That is the whole point. That is why this is Nick's tiers entering week 3. This isn't projections into the future. This is just comically absurd. The Vikings deserve to be up there. The Saints deserve to be up there. The Eagles deserve to be up there. You can put the Falcons up there. The Cardinals. I mean, like, it's just this is honestly just comically absurd at this point. It really is. It makes no logical sense. The conference championship week, and I could say the Bucs just do keep winning. The Cardinals' offense has been dynamic. The Falcons put a lot of eggs into this year's basket, and all of a sudden Kirk in that 2-minute drill started looking like Kirk. And I understand all of the Bears commentary, understandably, has been about how bad the quarterback play has been. The flip side of that is
They have had arguably the best defense in the league through 2 weeks. We can throw out what they did to Tennessee, holding C.J. Stroud and that Texans offense to 19 points and keeping them in it despite Caleb's mistakes means that defense is for real. And no matter what you think of Caleb, he won't be as bad moving forward as he was these first 2 weeks. Coaching masterclass. Chargers and Packers. Now, I understand the Packers are 1-1 and they could lose until they get Jordan Love back. But what they were able to do last week, what Matt LaFleur has consistently done since he's been there, and the Chargers would find ways to lose in the past. Now, Jim Harbaugh got there. Everyone's like, hey, what's he going to do? It's like, I don't know. Signed a redhead, 6 foot, 300-pound fullback, drafted tackle number 6, probably going to run the damn ball. Guess what he's doing? J.K. Dobbins, league MVP. Right, Justin Herbert just throwing dinks and dunks for 140 yards a game, doesn't matter. All right, everyone calm down about these teams. The blue chip talent still jumps off the page.
Imagine in any world where you think the 49ers and the Cowboys are equal. Imagine any world where you think they are on the same level. They played each other last year, and the 49ers proved that they are light years away from each other. Imagine thinking that. There's not a single 49ers fan that believes that they're even remotely on the same level. I mean, there's just no reason to believe that. There really is no reason to believe that. And again, you know what's so funny? It's really actually the Chiefs and the Eagles are the only teams. I'm trying to look at this list quickly and try to quickly do the math. It's actually really only the Eagles and the Chiefs that actually played two great teams back to back. Most of these other teams played a team that was clearly beneath them. Even if I'm just using Nick's tiers, right? The 49ers played the Vikings, which is at a couple notches below them, but then they played the Jets, who are even lower, right? Even the Saints, they played the Cowboys, which is above them, so that bodes well, but then played the Panthers, who are at the way bottom, right? The Cowboys, who are near at the very top, they played the Browns at the way bottom, right? Understand what I'm saying? But the Chiefs, they played the Ravens and the Bengals, two decent teams according to Nick, whereas the Eagles beat one team and almost beat the second team that are way above them. And the fact that they don't get any credit for that is really just comically hilarious. And then the other thing that I want to point out, because I assume he's going to put the Detroit Lions next. All you Baker Mayfield fans, all you Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans, you guys ripped me. You ripped me because I said, hey, you know what? I know the Bucs beat the Lions, but the Lions didn't really look that good, yada, yada, yada. And I said, I'm not saying that the Bucs aren't bad. I'm not saying that the Buccaneers aren't a top team or that Baker isn't, playing good. I said, but, it's just a little bit more complicated than that. They beat the Commanders, a team that Nick thinks is trash. And, they beat the Lions, but the Lions haven't looked right. But, the Buccaneers do have my eyes, and I just want to wait. I want to see how they play against a couple other good teams. I just want to kind of build a case. And your savior, Nick Wright, has the Buccaneers 4 or 5 teams below the Lions. The Buccaneers just beat the Lions. And yet you guys come at me. Look, what I'm saying is the most insane thing ever. And again, I'm not saying just because you beat a team or a team beats you, that means whoever wins means that they're better. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm not saying, the Eagles beat the Packers, therefore they're better than the Packers. Or, the 49ers or the Minnesota Vikings beat the 49ers, therefore they're better than the 49ers. It doesn't work like that. That's not how it works, right? There's plenty of times a team wins or loses, and they're not either the better or the worse team. It's more complicated than that. So I'm not even saying what Nick is doing is wrong. I just find it funny that you guys bashed me in that segment, and completely overlooked everything that Nick is saying. And here we have concrete proof. It doesn't get any more real than Nick's tiers and how they're ranking. How he has clearly the Buccaneers way below the Lions.
Some of us might have questions about one quarterback. Some might have questions about the other quarterback. Might have questions about their ability to win the biggest games at the most important time of the year. But on a week-to-week basis, they are still 2 of the best teams in football.
I got to add one more thing about that, though. No, people don't really have questions about Brock Purdy. You have questions about Brock Purdy. Many people do not. We don't have to question, can he show up in the biggest moments, because we've seen him show up. We've seen him show up in a Super Bowl. We've seen him show up in an NFC Championship game. We've seen him show up in the previous rounds in the playoffs. We've seen him put a team on his back and get out there and win. Have we ever seen Dak Prescott do that in the playoffs? In the NFC Championship game? In the Super Bowl? No, I don't think so. Does Brock Purdy have more playoff wins in one season than Dak has in his entire career? Yeah, I think he does. I think he does. I'm not sure. I'm not real good at math, but yeah, I think he does.
America's rooting for you. So what do I mean by that? Well, for the Lions, it's pretty self-explanatory. I think everyone has a soft spot in their heart for the Lions. For the Texans and the Bills, it's very simple. You're America's last best hope at preventing what is evidently the new villains. Rig the games, hate Kelsey, hate Mahomes from the inevitable three-peat in the Arrowhead Invitational being a seventh straight endeavor, which is rival-less at the top. And what do I mean by rival-less? If I were to tell you the Bengals, the longest losing streak to any one team they have in the AFC is their losing streak to the Chiefs. So nobody beats them more often than the Chiefs beat them, but they're supposed to be the Chiefs' rival. They're the team that has the Chiefs number. They've lost 3 straight. We know the Ravens can't. We know that no one in the AFC West can't. We know the Bills can't in the playoffs. Top the tiers, rival-less Kansas.
Yeah, the Kansas City Chiefs do not deserve to be at the top right now. That would be the Texans, or you put them in this group. You would put them all in the same tier. If you want to put the Chiefs, the Texans, the Bills, the Lions, the 49ers, yeah, I'm all down for that, right? I'm absolutely down for that. But no, the Chiefs are not on a different level. I made a video that's going to be posting on Friday, and I do say in that video that at the end of the day, there's no team that's head and shoulders. But, you know, if it really truly is any given Sunday, you're gonna trust Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and Spags more than anyone else that they have. So if you want to make that be your true selling argument as to why the Chiefs should be on the top tier, I can conceptually understand that, but there's too many factors at play right now, especially with Pacheco going down, Travis Kelce not looking the same. He has to literally answer to the media now. Where has he been? Why he hasn't been playing as advertised. Patrick Mahomes has not been playing well right now. He just hasn't. I know what Patrick Mahomes does in the playoffs. I know how many Super Bowls that he wants. That's not what this is about. That's not what these tiers are about. That's not how it works. That's not how rankings work, okay? You're not taking into account what happened 4 or 5 years ago. It does not matter this season. The reality is that Patrick Mahomes is in the top of the league with turnover-worthy plays. That's the reality, okay? That's not a made-up number that you can just magically make up. It's very clear right there. He's been throwing a really bad ball. Okay, and Brown is not coming back. So everybody was really excited about this Chiefs team being better, getting more weapons. Well, now they're down multiple weapons. They're down Brown. They're down Pacheco. Kelsey is declining. Patrick Mahomes is not playing great quarterback. I am not saying that the Chiefs are not a great team. I am not saying that the Chiefs are not a top team. I am not saying that Patrick Mahomes isn't one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever live. So if you're going to come at me and debate me about the Kansas City Chiefs, you can try to do it in a way without saying that, okay? Stop saying that I'm a hater. I have another video that I haven't recorded yet, but I came up with the idea, and I'm going to prove that I was rooting and cheering for the Kansas City Chiefs before the vast majority of any of you, because I know so many of you Kansas City Chiefs fans are complete front runners, right? You did not start rooting for them until after they won their first Super Bowl. I can almost guarantee it, because that's how fandom works. That's how, that's how this, this is how sports has consistently, unfolded. And I have proof that I was doing it before Patrick Mahomes ever won a single Super Bowl. So I'm really excited to record that video. But yeah, I mean, this list is such a mess. The way to have I keep wanting to say the Colts, the Saints all the way down there, the Vikings all the way down there. I mean, they literally just beat the 49ers, right? a top 5 team according to Nick, top 5, top 6 or whatever. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And like I said already before, having the Saints beat the Cowboys. I mean, they demolished them, absolutely demolished them, and you still want to keep the Cowboys all the way up there. It doesn't make any sense. No sense at all. Okay. And then again, the Bills, I believe that the Bills are a top team. I believe that the Lions and the Texans, right? I do believe that these are all top teams. So it's not to say that those teams need to be brought down or anything like that, but it is. It's just, it really, really is just such a mess. And how the Raiders, honestly, the Raiders get no respect. They get no love. They held their own. It wasn't a perfect first game, but they held their own against the Chargers to a degree. Again, I know it wasn't a perfect game, but they didn't get demolished. They didn't get beat as bad as the Cowboys. And then they went out and beat the Ravens. None other than Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. You know, the team that almost beat the Kansas City Chiefs or held their own or pretty much had every opportunity to beat the Chiefs. What does that tell me? It tells me that the Raiders are in the world right now. They're not on the outside looking in. They're in the stratosphere. I'm not saying that the Raiders are a top 5 team or something like that, but they're not just this, oh, well, they're just a bunch of bums. Like, you're treating the Raiders like they're the Giants. The Giants could never beat the Ravens. The Giants could never compete even close to with a team like the Chargers or the 49ers or the Chiefs or the Texans. They can't. They never can. They deserve to be down there. So the fact that you even have the Raiders below even the Jags right now, the Raiders deserve to be above the Jaguars. They just do. They beat a better team. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they beat a week 1 first game in months and months and months of the Atlanta Falcons, and then they beat the Broncos with a rookie quarterback who he has at the very bottom. And they barely won that game, quite frankly, okay? I mean, my God, is that some high-powered offense or what? I just, oh man, let's take a listen to see what they have to say. But this is something special. Nick, you have outdone yourself. I really hope you take my opinions on this with the utmost respect, because I just disagree. I disagree greatly.
So Chiefs coach Mangini, this is going to be the week. This is going to be the week that you say those beautiful words. You have nothing to add. The tears were perfect.
Nick always accuses me of being late to the party on my takes, but the flip side of that is, if you're not invited to a Nick Wright party, you're never getting invited to a Nick Wright party. You know, and that's just how it is. But in the words of C.J. Stroud, you need to learn from your mistakes, Nick. And here's where it is. You got to bump New Orleans up. You have to bump New Orleans up.
You too.
Now let's just throw on a little bit of information here. So let's pull up the first graphic about how well the quarterback's been doing. We've seen that. We saw this yesterday. So it's first, second, third. So that's the one side. And now let's look at what they're doing defensively. Okay, so we pop up there. Okay, so now they're 4th in opponent points per game, turnover differential, takeaways, right on down the line. So they've been solid in both areas. And you look at your tiers, and the team they beat is, I don't know, what, 6 tiers above them, where I don't know where the Cowboys are.
Yeah,
and then you want to talk about quarterbacks, because you don't like Derek Carr. I get it. He'll never come to a Nick Wright party. But you're talking about look at the other part. Murray, he's got question marks. Cousins, he's got question marks. Yeah. Caleb, question mark.
This isn't Mahomes Mountain. This isn't about
what I'm just saying is, whatever you're talking about, why these other teams are above the Saints, and you don't like Carr. And you don't like the Saints,
can I tell you?
And they're never going to get invited to one of your parties. I get it. So that's where they stay.
So a couple things. One is, do I still have seared in my memory Derek Carr in the one playoff game he ever played in on 4th down with a chance to beat the Cincinnati Bengals, deciding, I'll just throw short of the end zone for no reason? Yeah, of course I do. Do I have seared in my memory the 2 other times in his career he has had a 5-game stretch similar to the one he's on, the heater he's on right now dating back to last season, only to immediately go back to being Derek Carr? Yeah, I do. But my big issue with the Saints is actually not Derek Carr related. If I have a single issue with the Saints, it's that I think they have, if we were ranking head coaches in the NFL, sorry, coach, but Dennis Allen, There's not a single coach team above them on the tiers that I think has a bigger question at head coach. They also are an incredibly old roster, and I just think it's fluky. I know though, and by the way, I think most people agree with me. I think there's this weird like conscience where people are like, well, I don't really believe in them, but I think they deserve us to pretend we do. You know what? Yeah. That's why you need the committee.
That's 100%
emotionless. Right, they deserve it.
Yeah.
Like it's kids kickball, and it's like everybody's got to get a turn. It's the NFL. It's the committee's tiers. We're not going to be fooled by your guys' pedantic emotions.
His party.
Yeah, well, you know what? Maybe the committee will be proven wrong.
Doesn't matter what they do.
We'll see. Bro.
All right, I think my bar, Nick, Nick, you got to stop drinking the Jerry juice. All right, the Cowboys should not be that high. Now, like you, I have them making the playoffs, but they right there, the third tier, no, they should be down. They just got shellacked at home in their home opener, giving up 44 points. They have no run game to speak of. And one of the trends so far this season, defenses have shown, we're stopping the pass. We've caught up. True. And now you need to have good run games. The quarterback, all of a sudden, Dak Prescott, is an interception waiting to happen against good teams. Last 3 games against good teams with winning records, he's got 5 interceptions. Last 3 games in teams with winning records, 5 interceptions. Your defensive front,
always been like
and
that.
then your linebackers too, got pushed around by an offensive line that most people thought coming into the season was suspect. So Dallas should be like, I think the Chargers, the Packers, the Niners, who are equal with Dallas on there, Baltimore and Cincinnati should all be ahead of Dallas on the tiers.
Baltimore and Cincinnati should be ahead of them, and one of the complaints you have about Dallas is their suspect offensive line. That doesn't, to me, pass the smell
I think it's
test.
been more suspect than even Baltimore.
The Packers are the toughest one. The Packers, I almost consider separate, because the Packers without Jordan Love are obviously too high, but with Jordan Love, they could be too low. And so there is, to me, a lot of the concerns you listed for Dallas also apply to San Francisco. And so I think the committee got the Cowboys exactly right. Go ahead, Lawrence.
You know what I like? And I know it's not the
mediocre quarterbacks.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah.
This quarterback's not mediocre, and I've come around on him. And I've said, you know what? My bigger issue with this guy wasn't winning games. Oh, he's had the arm talent. But now he's winning games too. And he's not doing a lot. I'm moving the Chargers up.
Ooh.
My bar is, I don't know, being undefeated seems pretty good. First of all, near and dear to Coach's heart, and Bruce.
They're high.
They should be higher. They haven't lost a game.
So same with 8 other teams.
Exactly. Chargers ranked. They used to just throw the ball. Say, hey, we got Justin Herbert. Made sense. Throw the ball around. Now Harbaugh comes in and said, no, I'm actually not going to do that. You zig, I zag. So running works. We know that. Move on to Herbert. I still think eventually they're going to get around and be like, hey, man, air that thing out. So his yards at 140, 130 versus Carolina. Granted, Carolina, you don't really need to throw the ball too much. But still, we haven't seen the best of Herbert. Now, he is on ankle watch. Plantar fasciitis watch. He was on, but now he's also on ankle watch. So it might be Easton stick time. As you know.
No. It can't be Easton stick time.
Is Easton?
Well, I'd run the Wildcat.
Well, as you know, all quarterbacks named after.
All right, well, I don't want to get into a conversation now about is he playing, is he not, what's going on with that. But yeah, I think the Chargers are a top team as long as Justin Herbert's actually healthy. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've already said my piece about the tiers, how I have them ranked, and what I think. I mean, if you just really want to ask yourself this question, right? If you want to figure out the tiers, if you really want to make it simplified, right? And you don't want to try to figure out, well, how good is this team? What about their offensive line? What about their run game? What about this? And again, this isn't a perfect comparison because, like I said, just because you beat a team doesn't mean that you're necessarily better than them. But if the Cowboys played the Saints again, do you think there would be a similar outcome? Because I do. If the Cowboys played the Ravens, who do you think is winning that game? The Ravens. Do you think the Cowboys are beating the Bengals? No, the Bengals. Do you think the Cowboys can beat the Chiefs? No. Can the Cowboys beat the Bills? No. What about the Texans versus let's see. Well, no, not the Texans because they're already so high. Let's take like another middle team. The Packers. A full strength Packers versus the Cowboys. I don't mean to keep hanging on the Cowboys. This isn't meant to just like focus on the Cowboys, but it's just the Cowboys are just so outrageously high, and to use them as a reference point. How about, here we go, the Arizona Cardinals versus the Cowboys. Yeah, I'm gonna put the Cardinals up there. The Falcons. I mean, like, it's just, this is why this segment is always so difficult for me to go through, because it's just so muddled, right? And it's like, now you're asking me to just like, put together a puzzle with all of these teams, and it's just so messy. When I see this, I'm just like, what am I supposed to do with this right now? And it's so hard because I could focus on every individual team, and then I'm trying to focus on the teams as a whole. You guys said you like longer videos, so that's why I'm like, whatever, fine, we'll just talk about it, think about it out loud. Let's just do it. But I mean, there's just no way for some of these teams. Like, I mean, seriously. I just think it's hilarious. Again, the Bears, you have our attention. About what? Seriously, about what? The Arizona Cardinals? Yes. Kyler Murray has literally been a top quarterback in the NFL right now. Okay? I mean, like, what he's been doing has been electric. Absolutely electric. Like, truly insane. Yeah, you do have my attention. The Buccaneers, again, beating the Commanders, a rookie quarterback's first game ever. Like, yeah, not gonna be great. And to have the Bears all the way up there when they beat the Titans, like, it just doesn't make sense. Even the Colts, I know the Colts are very uneven, and I totally admit that, but I don't think you could put the Colts on the same side as the Jags, because you know what? They almost beat the Texans, a top team. And you know what? This early on in the season, the almost, the could-haves, and the should-haves actually really matter. They just do. They add context. Everything is not black and white. It's not binary. It's not just what your record is, which Nick even admits, because he even says there's lots of teams that are undefeated, or yeah, I do have teams that are 0-2 above teams that are 2-0. It's not just about the record. There's context. There's more at stake here. We have to look at it, a deeper evaluation. If you want to say that you have a problem with the quarterback play of, say, the Philadelphia Eagles and Jalen Hurts, well, I got news for you. Him and Dak Prescott are right next to each other in the quarterback rankings right now. So they've been very similar. The only difference is one team didn't get demolished while the other team did, right? And yeah, I do think the Bears have a pretty good defense. And the Texans, holding the Texans down to 19 points, I think is impressive. The problem is that their offense can't do anything right now. Literally can't do anything right. There's nothing going right for them offensively. Nothing. Not their O-line, not their run game, not their quarterback, not their wide receivers. Nothing is going right now offensively. That's a major problem. So, yeah, I really can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. Are just some of these wins then just flukes, right? Like the Vikings beating the 49ers. Is that just a fluke? They're just not actually that good. So it's just a fluke. That's why they're all the way down there, right? The Saints winning, obviously, who they beat, that's just a fluke. That's why they're so low. I mean, it just doesn't actually make sense. Why would even a team like the Falcons be above the Saints if the Falcons beat the Eagles, who, according to Nick, are bad, and they lost to the Steelers, who are also below them? They almost lost to a team that's below them, and they did lose to a team that's below them. And Nick fully admits that the Eagles should have won that game. So then how are the Falcons where they are? You know what I'm saying? Just none of it really actually makes logical sense. It honestly just doesn't. So maybe you guys can make sense of it. I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts on this one. What do you think about this? Is this bad? Is this good? What teams would you move around? I'm still looking at it, and I'm still just trying to make sense of it. I feel like I'm trying to read the Matrix language right now, because it's just, I'm also doing this at 2 o'clock in the morning. Literally, I'm not even exaggerating. It's 2:15 a.m. right now, right? That's how dedicated I am to creating content for everyone. So maybe I should have done this earlier or later in the day, depending how you want to look at it, where I could have been more awake to really dissect this, because right now I'm just like, am I seeing this correctly? Like, am I confused here? Like, am I like, what am I missing here right now? I don't get it. But yeah, those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.